Breaking news, Arsenal shock. Double transfer plan, Vinícius Júnior. Links and Eduardo Camavinga. Backup option. If you love Arsenal as much as we do, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's dive straight into today's massive Arsenal news. Come on, you Gunners! Arsenal supporters, tonight we have a transfer story that has sent shockwaves across the football world. The Gunners are continuing their mission to build a squad capable of competing for every major trophy, and reports coming from Spain and England have now connected Arsenal with two of Real Madrid's biggest stars. One is a world-class winger who has won everything at the highest level. The other is a midfield talent who was once considered completely untouchable at the Santiago Bernabeu. We are talking about Vinícius Júnior and Eduardo Camavinga. But what is actually happening? Could Arsenal really make a move for one of the most dangerous attackers in world football? Could Eduardo Camavinga become the midfield solution if Bruno Guimarães does not arrive? And are these genuine transfer possibilities, or simply rumours created because of contract situations at Real Madrid? Today we break down everything Arsenal fans need to know, Arsenal's summer transfer ambition. First, let's understand the bigger picture. Arsenal are no longer operating like a club simply trying to improve. The mentality has changed. After years of rebuilding under Mikel Arteta, the Gunners are now targeting players who can help them compete at the highest level. The objective is clear: win major trophies, challenge consistently in the Premier League, go deeper in the Champions League, build a squad with quality in every position. That is why Arsenal's transfer strategy has focused on elite players who already understand pressure. The club are not just looking for potential, they want proven quality. And that explains why names like Bruno Guimarães, Eduardo Camavinga and even Vinícius Júnior are being discussed. These are players who have already performed on football's biggest stages. Bruno Guimarães remains the main target. Before we discuss the Real Madrid rumours, Arsenal fans need to understand one important point. The club's midfield priority has not changed. Bruno Guimarães remains the player Arsenal want most. The Newcastle United captain has been identified as a perfect fit for Arteta's project. His ability to control games, recover possession, create chances, and lead from midfield is exactly what Arsenal believe they need. Reports suggest Arsenal are preparing a huge offer in the region of £70 million for the Brazilian midfielder. The club have also reportedly made progress regarding personal terms with the player. However, there is still one major challenge: Newcastle United. The Magpies know they have one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Bruno is not only a talented player, he is their leader, their captain, a symbol of their new era. Therefore, convincing Newcastle to sell will not be easy, and this is where Eduardo Camavinga enters the conversation. Eduardo Camavinga, Arsenal's alternative master plan. Behind the scenes, top clubs always prepare alternative plans. Arsenal understand that even when they identify their number one target, negotiations can become complicated. A transfer can collapse because of the selling club. The price can become unrealistic. The player can decide to stay. That is why Arsenal have reportedly been monitoring Eduardo Camavinga. The French international has been admired by Europe's biggest clubs for years. Since joining Real Madrid from Rennes, Camavinga has shown why he is considered one of the most complete young midfielders in football. His qualities are obvious. He is technically gifted. He can play under intense pressure. He has the physical ability to cover huge areas of the pitch. He can defend. He can progress the ball. He can play multiple midfield roles. For Mikel Arteta, those qualities are extremely attractive. The Arsenal manager values players who can understand different tactical responsibilities. Camavinga's versatility makes him exactly the type of player Arteta usually prefers. Real Madrid's changing situation. The reason this story has become possible is because Real Madrid's position appears to have changed. For a long time, Eduardo Camavinga was viewed as one of the players Madrid would never consider selling. He represented the future of their midfield. However, football is unpredictable. Reports suggest Madrid are currently evaluating their squad after a challenging period affected by injuries, inconsistent performances and changes around the team. Camavinga's own situation has also become more complicated. Despite his undeniable talent, injuries have interrupted his development. He has struggled to maintain consistent rhythm. Competition for places at Real Madrid is incredibly intense. The club has several elite midfield options, and every player must fight for minutes. Because of this situation, reports suggest Madrid could consider offers in the region of €50 million to €60 million, around £42 million to £51 million. For Arsenal, that valuation would still represent a major investment, but compared with other elite midfielders in the market, Camavinga could become a realistic opportunity. The players' side of the story. However, there is one huge factor Arsenal must consider. Eduardo Camavinga himself reportedly wants to remain at Real Madrid. The midfielder has never publicly indicated a desire to leave Spain. Instead, his focus has been proving himself at the Bernabeu. He wants to compete for his position. He wants to show that he belongs among Madrid's midfield leaders. This is important because signing a player like Camavinga is not only about paying the transfer fee. Arsenal would need to convince him that moving to North London is the best step for his career. They would need to present a project where he feels important, a project where he is not simply another squad player, and that is something Mikel Arteta has successfully done with many players before. Now, the Vinícius Júnior bombshell. While Camavinga represents a possible midfield solution, another Real Madrid story has created even more excitement. Vinícius Júnior. The Brazilian winger is one of the most dangerous attackers in world football. His speed, his dribbling, his creativity, his ability to decide Champions League matches, these qualities have made him one of Real Madrid's biggest stars. So when reports began suggesting that his name had been mentioned to Premier League clubs, Arsenal fans immediately started dreaming. Could Arsenal really sign Vinícius Júnior? Could he become the superstar attacker to take Arteta's team to another level? The answer is complicated because this story is not about Real Madrid actively putting him on the transfer list. It is about contract uncertainty. Reports indicate that intermediaries have informally contacted selected Premier League clubs because discussions over a contract extension at Real Madrid have reportedly slowed. Arsenal are believed to be among the clubs who are aware of the situation, but awareness does not mean negotiation. Interest does not mean an agreement. And a rumour does not mean a transfer is close. This is where we must separate excitement from reality. Because although Vinícius Júnior is a dream signing for almost every club in the world, the obstacles are enormous, and those obstacles will be the focus of part 2. To be continued. Part 2, Vinícius Júnior's price tag, £500,000. A week wages and whether Arsenal can really make the impossible happen. Arsenal's Vinícius Júnior dream, the £100 million+ transfer challenge, and Camavinga tactical fit part 2. Welcome back, Gunners. This is Arsenal Daily Talk, continuing our massive transfer breakdown. If you missed part 1, we discussed Arsenal's reported interest in Eduardo Camavinga as a possible alternative to Bruno Guimarães and the shocking links connecting Vinícius Júnior with Premier League clubs due to contract uncertainty at Real Madrid. Now let's continue with the biggest questions. Could Arsenal realistically sign Vinícius Júnior? What would it cost? And how would both Vinícius and Camavinga fit into Mikel Arteta's tactical system? The Vinícius Júnior dream, a superstar Arsenal would love. Arsenal supporters understand exactly why the name Vinícius Júnior creates so much excitement. This is not just another transfer rumour. This is a player who has already reached the highest level of football. He has scored in Champions League finals. He has destroyed some of Europe's best defenders. He has become one of Real Madrid's most important attacking weapons. When you watch Vinícius play, you immediately see what makes him special. His acceleration is frightening. His ability to beat defenders one-on-one is among the best in the world. His movement behind defensive lines creates constant problems. And perhaps most importantly, he has developed the mentality required to perform under pressure at the biggest club in football. For Arsenal, adding a player like Vinícius would represent another statement of ambition. Imagine an attack featuring Bukayo Saka on one side and Vinícius Júnior on the other. Imagine the pace, creativity and unpredictability. Imagine defenders preparing to face Arsenal, knowing they must deal with two of the most dangerous wide attackers in world football. From a football perspective, the attraction is obvious, but football transfers are not only decided on talent, they are decided by money, timing and willingness from all parties. And this is where the biggest challenges begin. The £100 million transfer barrier. The first obstacle is the transfer fee. Reports suggest that any possible deal for Vinícius Júnior would require an enormous financial package. A fee comfortably above £100 million would likely be needed to convince Real Madrid to even consider negotiations. This is because Madrid know exactly what they have. They are not dealing with a player who has potential. They are dealing with a proven superstar. Vinícius is one of the faces of their club. A player who attracts supporters, sells shirts and delivers important moments. Real Madrid would have no reason to accept a normal market price. If they ever allowed him to leave, they would demand a record-breaking amount. For Arsenal, this would represent a completely different level of investment. The club have shown they are willing to spend heavily when they believe a player can transform the squad. Declan Rice's arrival demonstrated that Arsenal are capable of major transfers. However, a Vinícius deal would go even further. It would not only break Arsenal's transfer record, it could become one of the biggest deals in Premier League history. The wage problem, a major financial challenge. The second challenge could be even bigger, the player's salary. Reports suggest Vinícius Júnior's wage expectations could approach around £500,000 per week. That figure would completely change Arsenal's current wage structure. Mikel Arteta and Arsenal's leadership have worked carefully to create a balanced dressing room. The club rewards important players, but they also avoid creating huge differences between teammates. A salary package of £500,000 every week would require serious consideration because it is not only about paying one player, it affects the entire squad. Other important players could eventually demand similar contracts. The club must think about long-term financial sustainability. That is why, despite the excitement, many observers believe a Vinícius Júnior transfer remains extremely difficult. The interest may be real, the admiration may be real, but turning that into a completed deal would require extraordinary circumstances. Could Champions League success change everything? One factor that could influence Arsenal's ability to attract players like Vinícius is ambition. Top players want to compete for the biggest trophies. They want Champions League football. They want a club capable of challenging every season. Arsenal's project under Arteta has become increasingly attractive because the club is no longer viewed as rebuilding. They are now seen as genuine contenders. The Emirates Stadium has become a difficult place for opponents to visit. The squad has quality, the manager has a clear tactical identity, and the club's future looks extremely promising. This is exactly the type of environment that can attract elite players. However, attraction alone is not enough. Financial reality still matters. Eduardo Camavinga. Why Arsenal see him as a perfect fit? While Vinícius represents the dream attacking signing, Eduardo Camavinga represents something much more realistic. From a tactical perspective, Camavinga is fascinating because he offers qualities that match Arteta's philosophy. Modern midfielders are required to do everything. They must defend, they must build attacks, they must handle pressure, they must understand positioning. Camavinga already has experience performing these responsibilities at the highest level. His biggest strength is his ability to escape pressure. When opponents try to press aggressively, Camavinga has the technical ability and confidence to receive the ball and move away from danger. This is extremely valuable in Arteta's system. Arsenal often dominate possession. They need midfielders who can maintain control even when opponents try to disrupt their rhythm. Camavinga's ball-carrying ability would add another dimension. Instead of only passing away from pressure, he can physically drive through midfield and create advantages. Camavinga as a defensive midfielder. Another reason Arsenal admire Camavinga is his defensive ability. Although he is known for his technical qualities, he is also extremely effective without the ball. His speed allows him to cover large spaces, his anticipation helps him recover possession, his aggression allows him to compete against stronger opponents. For a team like Arsenal, which often pushes fullbacks forward and commits players into attacking positions, having a midfielder capable of protecting transitions is essential. Camavinga can provide that security. He can help Arsenal immediately regain control after losing possession. Camavinga compared with Bruno Guimarães. The interesting debate for Arsenal fans is this. Would Camavinga actually be a better signing than Bruno Guimarães? The answer depends on what Arsenal want. Bruno Guimarães brings Premier League experience. He understands the physical demands of English football. He brings leadership. He brings consistency. He has already proven himself in the league. Camavinga, meanwhile, offers incredible potential. He is younger. He has Champions League experience. He has a higher ceiling in many people's opinion. The difference is that Bruno represents certainty. Camavinga represents long-term growth. That is why Arsenal see both players as attractive options. They are different profiles, but both could improve the midfield. The importance of squad building. The reason Arsenal are exploring elite names is because the club understands one thing. Winning requires depth. A successful season cannot depend on 11 players staying fit. Manchester City have shown this repeatedly. Their squad contains world-class options across almost every position. Arsenal want to reach that level. They want competition for places. They want quality replacements. They want players who can change games from the bench. That is why names like Camavinga continue to appear. The club is not simply looking for another midfielder. They are searching for someone who can help them compete against Europe's strongest teams. The transfer battle is just beginning. At this stage, Arsenal fans should understand the situation clearly. Vinícius Júnior is an exciting possibility, but the financial barriers make it extremely complicated. Eduardo Camavinga is a more realistic alternative, but even that deal would require convincing both Real Madrid and the player. Meanwhile, Bruno Guimarães remains Arsenal's first choice. The coming weeks could decide which direction Arsenal take. Will they complete their dream midfield signing? Will an unexpected superstar become available? Or will the club surprise everyone with a different move? In part 3, we will discuss Real Madrid's squad rebuild and why they may consider selling, Camavinga's future and his desire to stay, competition from Manchester United, Manchester City and Liverpool, Arsenal's alternative attacking targets after Morgan Rogers. Part 3 coming next. Real Madrid's decision, Premier League rivals and Arsenal's next move. Part 3. Welcome back, Gunners. If you've stayed with us this far, thank you for watching Arsenal Daily Talk. We're continuing our in-depth look at Arsenal's reported interest in Eduardo Camavinga and the speculation surrounding Vinícius Júnior. Remember, Bruno Guimarães remains Arsenal's primary midfield target, while Camavinga is being discussed as a possible alternative if that move cannot be completed. Let's continue. Why Real Madrid could actually listen to offers. One of the biggest questions Arsenal supporters are asking is simple. Why would Real Madrid even think about selling Eduardo Camavinga? After all, he's only 23 years old, already has experience at the highest level, and has been regarded as one of Europe's finest young midfielders for several seasons. Normally, players with that profile are considered untouchable. However, football changes quickly. Every summer brings new priorities, new transfer targets and new financial decisions. Reports suggest that Real Madrid are reviewing their squad after a challenging campaign that included injuries and inconsistent performances. When a club is planning its next phase, every player is evaluated. That doesn't automatically mean Madrid want Camavinga to leave. Instead, it reportedly means they are prepared to consider significant offers if they believe selling him would help strengthen other areas of the squad. According to the reports, Real Madrid value Camavinga at around $57 million to $68 million, approximately £42 million to £51 million. That valuation reflects both his age and his enormous potential. For Arsenal, it would still be a major investment, but compared to some of the biggest transfer fees in today's market, it is a figure the club could realistically consider if they decide to move away from Bruno.